all, Alex here at your home of the Music Deep Dive, and today we'll be doing a review of the 1998 biography by Henry Mayer, All on Fire, William Lloyd Garrison and the Abolition of Slavery. William Lloyd Garrison, born the 10th of December 1805 in Newburyport, Massachusetts, died the 24th of May 1879 in New York City. Employed in the newspaper industry from an early age, Garrison was enamored by the anti-slavery movement starting in his early 20s, quickly becoming a prominent speaker, orator, and writer associated with said movement. His newspaper, The Liberator, founded at the beginning of 1831, was a weekly proclamation of ideals that became one of the most widely read radical newsletters in the country, advocating not just for emancipation of enslaved folks, but for women's rights as well. And after facing extreme resistance in the form of mobs and various threats from state governments, the Liberator's politics became so extreme that Garrison even advocated outright for the disbanding of the Constitution, publicly burning it during one of his speeches. Garrison's religious views, although they would evolve significantly in his life, played a major role in his activism as well, and despite his words being very fiery, there was a strong sense of moral firmness and a desire for peace that backed up those words, and that thread is especially felt during the kind of days leading up to the Civil War, when Garrison realizes the nature of the conflict that is about to unfold. Easily the most influential abolitionist, at least until Frederick Douglass came along, stay tuned, Garrison's legacy has waned a bit in recent years due to his radical positions being critiqued as too extreme by some modern scholars. This book was written by Henry Mayer, born the 6th of May 1941 in New York City, died the 24th of July 2000 in Glacier National Park, Montana. A high school history teacher in the Haight-Ashbury area of San Francisco, Mayer began writing in the 1980s, and before this work on Garrison, had published an acclaimed biography of Patrick Henry. The Garrison book is easily his most famous. Other books likely would have followed, but tragically he died of a heart attack while biking before he had even turned 60 years old. And frankly, it is a tragedy we don't have more writing of Mayer's to chew on, because this is a damned great biography. We can start with the thesis, and boy, Mayer gives us a lot to think about here. The argument that he makes from beginning to end is that Garrison's impact on the abolitionist movement not only deserves to be uplifted more, but that his influence on that movement is comparable, if not equivalent, to that of Martin Luther King's on the civil rights movement of the 1950s and the 1960s. High praise, lofty claims, I know, but boy, it's hard to disagree after reading this. Garrison did not create the abolitionist movement by any means, and Mayer doesn't say anything like that, but he definitely platformed it and gave it a proper megaphone by publishing The Liberator, and without that distribution that the newspaper gave them, it's more than obvious the course of American history would be very different, because the organization of the abolitionist movement would be so much more scattershot. And just as MLK is often underappreciated as a very radical and often fiery voice of change in modern times, so too is Garrison's moral compass and his desire for peace kind of underappreciated in modern thinking. There's lots of information here, but Mayer is far too adept at storytelling to let the pacing drag. There's actually a bit of flair for the dramatic in his presentation of scenes that's never over the top to the point of being distracting, but you can tell he values the conveyance of these emotions. Mayer wants you to feel those sensations that Garrison's rhetoric and oratory inspired. There's also a lot of outside contextualization and explaining of historical events that I truly appreciate, as you have these major events like the annexation of Texas, the Compromise of 1850, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and the raid on Harper's Ferry. As you watch these play out, you get to see how it antagonized people and how it gradually tore apart the Union, and you get to see how Garrison reported it and also used these events as propaganda. Garrison's relationships with these other abolitionist figures such as Douglass and John Brown is explored a lot too. Brown in the sense that Garrison regarded him as a bit of a loose cannon, and then how Brown's death made him into this Christ-like martyr that almost pushed Garrison from the forefront of the movement completely. The Douglas relationship is a lot more complex, but ultimately the relationship there dissipated due to Douglas not advocating for disruption in the same way that Garrison did. Garrison viewed the Constitution as inherently allowing slavery and wanting to just throw it away entirely and start from scratch. Douglas, in turn, believed the Constitution could be amended and reframed actually as an anti-slavery document. So very major difference there, even though Douglas took a lot of inspiration from Garrison in his early activist days. For being about 650 pages, not including the index, I thought this was an extremely easy read, and maybe some of that is because this whole period in American history is about as fascinating and fast-moving as any that we've ever seen. But Mayer's writing and how he tells Garrison's story deserves a lot of credit too. I wouldn't hone in on this as your one-stop shop for reading about abolitionists and that whole movement because, again, you have people like Douglas, Brown, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, who deserve their own say in the story. And again, we will get to them. But I will say that this is an essential read if you want to feel that fire, understand the work needed to take us from an outwardly complacent society into a country in turmoil, divided on the whole slavery question, and then again into a society where slavery is outlawed entirely. Phenomenal book, cannot recommend it enough. I actually picked this up on a whim when I was in Madison a couple of months ago, so I didn't have it on my list originally at all. But I am more than happy that I went out and I paid the $7 or whatever it was for it. One of the best purchases I've made in a while. Check it out. And that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, more reviews are to come. Tell a friend as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time right here at your home of the Music Deep